Hey, you guys. Happy Tuesday. Happy Let's Talk Tuesday. I am super excited this week. Well, I'm super excited every week, but tonight's going to be such a great night. Hi, Amy Brady, Charles Babler. I saw William Viriato. And let's see, Austin Brooks. Hi, you guys from Texas. Hi, Tara and Seth. Tara from New Braunfels, Texas. Got a couple of Texas people here. Seth Himes, Tara Langton, Carolyn, Robin. Hi, you guys. I'm so glad. Hi, Diane, Olivia Rose. I'm so glad you guys are here. I am going to jump right in because we have so much to talk about, and I want to leave plenty of time for you guys to be able to ask our very special guest questions, because you get me every week, and that's one thing. But tonight we have an amazing guest, wonderful guest. Not only is he a wonderful person, a really wonderful man of faith, but man, he is a powerhouse as far as working in the industry. And I know that you know his work, whether you realize it or not, because I'm looking down his credits. He has, I won't say them all because it's between his film and TV, it's almost 100 credits. And so, yeah, I won't, that we would spend our whole time. But man, I've worked with him. I realized Amazing Love, a film he did. It's now been 14 years. I didn't realize that till I was actually looking at the list of credits. And that was, I think, one of the first projects we ever did together. Did another film called Not Today right around that same time. But you know him, first AD, he's a director, he's a producer, just powerhouse, like I said. Revelation Road, Do You Believe? God's Not Dead 2, and then God's Not Dead, We the People, which is more recent. Blue Ridge, The Warrant, some of my credits that he and I have had the pleasure of working together as a director, Night of the Sicario, and he's also done the Princess Cut movies, which many of you are familiar with. Paul's Promise, and then let's see, what was our Hitting the Brakes and Malibu Dan were the two series that we did together. But I just have great respect for Joth Riggs. Joth Riggs is a great professional. I want you to hear about his journey, and then I want you to be able to ask your questions. So be thinking now about what you would love to ask Joth. But in the meantime, let's welcome him in. Joth Riggs.
Hey, Beverly. How are you? Good to see you.
Great. How are you?
I'm good. And everybody else out there, how are you? Good to see y'all. Good to hear you all. Know you're there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's I'm so appreciative that you came on because it's just wonderful having another perspective. You've been in the industry. So how many years has it been for you now in this industry?
It's been over 32. My first movie was Pet Cemetery 2 in 1992.
Oh, you gotta love that.
Yeah. It's
So
been a while.
you're up above me by a couple of years. So
And you and I have actually worked on, I went and counted the other day. We've worked on 16 films together. And the reason you don't know them all is because I have prepped and scheduled a whole bunch of movies that I didn't, that I wasn't available to go and work on.
But yeah, you're right. Because now that you reminded me of that, there were several like that. It was like we prepped and
Farhaven and Farhaven, Blue Ridge, the series.
Yes. That is so true. Yeah, because I would think, oh, yay, I get to work with Joth. And then it's like, well, he's not actually available for the actual shoot.
Yeah, that's the tough thing. I can only be on one project at a time, so.
That's so hard.
By the way, you know what else is funny? On IMDb, I noticed we have 300 mutual connections. 300.
I believe it. I do. Between the actual direct connections of people we both know and have worked, and then those connection, like connections of connections, 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah, well, it's 300 direct connections, so it's more than
Oh
that
my
just because of
gosh.
all the crews we worked with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you guys, those of you who are joining us, this is a part of the beautiful side of what we do, and especially this particular community is, man, you end up making friends, like amazing friends for years. And before you know it, like I would have never ever thought if you said did we do Amazing Love together, I would have never thought 12 years ago. Like that just
Yeah,
seems.
well, Not Today was the first one we did together. That was in 2010.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because in
That's 2 years
IMDb,
before Amazing Love.
it showed coming out in 13, but you're right, it
Right.
was 2010 when it filmed.
We actually filmed it in 2010, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
remember being on the back porch of the house they used for John Schneider, and so in that
yeah,
movie, John Schneider and Sherry Rigby played
yeah.
a married couple, and, I visited set because they were filming actually very close to where I lived at the time, and so, I remember being on that back patio of that house and just hanging out and, watching you do your thing and watching the work happen, and yeah, that was one of the that our first time working together?
That was our first time actually on the same project, but I don't know if you recall, there was a time when we were 2 ships passing in the night.
Yes.
I almost AD'd Road to Redemption
Oh,
as
I
the
didn't
first
know
AD.
that.
Yeah, they brought me in. They brought
Wow.
me in, and it just didn't work out with my schedule, and then you ended up doing it, so
Wow, that's a trip.
back in the
Yeah.
'90s.
Yeah. Road to Redemption. I'm laughing because Road to Redemption was the last film I AD. I actually second AD'd, and that was the last film I ever second AD'd.
That's
That's when I
funny.
realized, yeah, that is not my giftedness. That is not what I'm best at, especially when you're casting it. I remember we had done an all-night shoot, and the director, who was actually a dear friend, in fact, he's the filmmaker who brought me into this industry and started my whole career. But we had done an all-night shoot and we were just beat, and something happened, there was a conflict, and it was, 5 in the morning, sun was coming up, and I just we had a little meeting of the minds, and right then I said, "I'm not an AD." I'm
It's
not.
good that you figured that out early so you didn't torture yourself any longer.
Yes.
It definitely is a
Yeah.
certain personality it requires. I get that.
Yeah, and it is the difference between what we can do versus what we should be doing. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that, right? We all have skill sets. Like, could I AD? Yes, technically, I understood the mechanism. Should I AD? No. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
thankfully, God told me, like, casting, casting.
Some of us are gluttons for punishment.
Oh, I know, man. It is a true giftedness to be to do that side of things and to keep the ball rolling. So speaking of which, so let me tell us just how you ended up in the film business. What was your journey for that? And then
Yeah.
even more specifically into the faith realm of the business.
Yeah, actually, when I was in high school, I actually wanted to be a professional drummer, and I was in a band with my high school buddies. But in the '80s, and I mean even now, but really big in the '80s, what did every band have to have? You had to have music videos, and
Right.
so we made music videos, and just my nature, I tended to gravitate toward directing them. We didn't really have a director per se, but I'm the guy who bossed everybody around, so it made sense. Um, but we had so much fun and we got so much from that we started making short films as a group with my church youth group. This was in high school,
Wow, I love it.
and the youth group loved it. They just ate it up, and so we made a whole series of vice cop movies. Again, this was in the '80s, so
Yep. Yep. I love
and
it.
and they just got really popular, and we kept involving other kids, from the youth group in it, and it was so much fun. I actually went to become a professional drummer after high school, and
Wow.
I just kind of realized that just wasn't really my scene, the music scene
Mhm.
in general.
Yeah.
But I had so much fun making those movies that I switched from music to a film major in college, and And I just started realizing, it was so much fun to tell stories. And I can do
Mhm.
this for a living. I'm fortunate. I was born geographically. I was fortunate because I was born in Southern California, where
Yeah.
the industry is a big thing, and I have had several family members in the business. And my cousin it won the Oscar for Titanic. So that influence was in my family when I was early. So I knew, yeah, of course, you can make a living in this business. And so I'm like, well, that's it then. That's what I want to do.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that you are a drummer. Like,
Yeah.
I wanna see you
Yeah.
post one of those drummer videos,
Uh-huh.
where you're
Yeah.
playing your own
With
drum
my
track
mullet,
and
I've
stuff.
got my mullet.
I love it. Oh, I
I
love
do
it.
I do have a funny picture. Yeah. I'll post it.
I love it.
That was my
Um,
first love. Yeah.
cool. Do you still get to play much?
Well, I don't have a kit, so no.
Okay.
But honestly, it's like being left-handed. You either are or you aren't. I am a drummer, whether I have a
I
kit
love
or
it.
not. So in fact, those of you who have worked with me on set, this is me in between, lighting setups, just constant. So,
Oh, I love it. Diego said we need a mullet picture now in all caps.
oh yeah, yeah. If we go to a commercial break, I'll try and find it. But yeah,
There you go. There
I'll
you
get you
go.
one. I'll get you one.
Okay, so you knew the film business. How did you zero in on that side of it? The directing, ADing, because obviously the film business could be anything. You could
Yeah,
DP,
that's
you
a
could
good. Yeah.
whatever. How did
Well,
you zero in on that?
well, first of all, I didn't know assistant directors existed. Didn't know that was a thing. I was fortunate to do my internship for college on Pet Cemetery 2, as I had mentioned.
Yep, yep,
My
yep,
job on that one was video assist. So I set up the monitor for the director and I recorded every take of the
yep.
movie from the beginning to the end. So I literally had a director's chair sitting right next to the director for the entire movie. It was the best film school ever.
Yes.
And
Yes.
but what I discovered was that everybody thinks the director runs the show. No, the first AD runs the show. It was clearly the first AD's set, and I was just mesmerized. I was fortunate that that particular first AD was one of the best in the business. So I
Mhm.
got to see somebody who really knew their job well. And
Yeah.
I was just really impressed. Not that I have to run the show, but I have the personality that's very much about logistics and organization,
Yep.
and it was just a really good fit for me.
Yeah.
And then on that show, the second ADs told me about the Directors Guild training program, which is a program where the DGA trains you to become an assistant director if you're accepted into it. And fortunately, I was. And
Wow.
so the rest is history. I've been doing it ever since.
I love I love what you're saying because I've also said it for a long time because of how I got started, which was jumping in and doing whatever was needed, right? Just to get
Yeah.
on the set and start to be in it and understand. That's how you understand the various roles and the various people and parts of the system, and
Yeah.
you start to figure out where you want to go and what you want to do. And so I love that you're saying it all started by you doing video assist, which many people might think is
Observing.
kind of a thankless job and sort of it's not a lot of glamour, but look what
Well,
it led to.
yeah, what's funny also is back then, so Video Assist was, we have two cameras, two monitors, and a top loading VHS deck on top of each one. And I had to just hit record, for each take. And when afterwards for playback, I'd hit rewind and I would play it back on a VHS tape. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a different beast back then than it is today. But
Yeah, absolutely. But man, it's a really good lesson for
oh yeah,
everyone. Just get on set. Be of
yes,
service however you need to be of service. What fill a
yeah,
need because then they appreciate you being there and you have a real purpose to be there. Fill that need. In the meantime, soak in everything you can all around you and
yeah.
take it all in and start to
Something will
process.
resonate.
Yes,
When you're on set, you be, oh man, I'm really intrigued by the camera, or I love those costumes. Those are amazing. You kind of
exactly.
figure it out, like, you tend to gravitate in a certain direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you said that was the best film school ever, being there next to the director, that's the stuff they can't teach you in school. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
end up with a degree, of course, which is great. There's a lot of value in that. But as far as really understanding the nuts and bolts to running a set and making your movie, you got to
there's
just get
no
in there.
substitute. Yeah, there's no
Right.
substitute for practical experience.
Exactly, and that's why I say even, I guess I feel slightly different than some others do as far as background work or stand-in work for actors. I think that if your option is to go and make your day-to-day, bill paying money at Starbucks or, serving somewhere, which is fine and totally great, or make your money on a set, I'd say go on the set every time,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
just like you had that person tell you about the DGA training program, you just never know who you'll meet. You'll never know what kind of connections you make that'll move you forward. Um, so
yeah.
how did you come to a point where you wanted to focus? I know that you're open to all kinds of storytelling, but you have kind of been deliberate about focusing in on stories of faith or inspiration or, kind of encouragement, hope kind of stories. What was that decision for you?
Yeah, there's a couple of factors. I mean, early on, as I told you, my career started with my church youth group,
Yeah.
and I wanted to do faith-based films, but in the 90s, that wasn't a thing, right?
Right.
It didn't
Right.
exist.
Right.
And so, fast forward, and because of the training program I got into, I did end up doing A-list studio projects,
Right.
and which is a real fast track career wise, but it's also a fast track away from anything that would be faith based.
Mhm.
And so it was a bit of a frog in a pot of boiling water process for me, where my personal boundaries line was
Mhm.
eroding slowly with each project about what I was okay with being a
Yep.
part of and what was acceptable, and
Yep.
I was
Mhm.
doing, you know, uh, Showtime and HBO and,
Yep.
stuff like that, which, would have been out of bounds for my own personal beliefs. But when you're so tunnel vision focused on a career, I mean, honestly, at that stage of my career, I wasn't even reading scripts. You got a
Right.
job, I'll take it, you know.
Yes. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and then, but then I'm married and I have kids, and eventually I started to recognize that these are the kind of things I can't let my kids watch, or I'm not
Mhm.
proud to tell them that I participated in.
Yeah.
And so eventually I faith-based, down the road a little bit, faith-based still films that started become a thing. I got a call to do Not Today, this movie that you and
Yeah.
I worked on together in India,
Right.
which was, all the proceeds were going to help build schools for the untouchables. And I
Right.
said, yeah, that's ministry, let's go, let's do this.
Yep.
And I went and did it, and I recognized a couple of things. And one of them was that, in the last couple of years, because of Fireproof, I mean, The
Yep.
Passion was its own thing, but Fireproof to me was kind of the first one that started to say, hey, these things can
Yes.
be, an actual business.
Right.
And the other thing I recognized was that there were very few people on set who had actual experience. And I thought, well,
Yes.
I've got something to offer in that arena. So I threw my hat in the ring, so to speak,
Yep.
and I got busy really fast just because of my history.
Yeah.
And it's been a really good run. I've been I mean, not exclusively, but primarily focused on faith and values driven projects for the last 14 years. And I've probably just in that arena worked on maybe 35, 38
Yeah.
films, something like that. It's been
Yeah,
good
I
running.
love that term values driven. That's a great way to kind of summarize the category. I love
Yeah.
that. And it's one of the things, this is why I would say that I can absolutely see that God led you and placed you and navigated you exactly where he wanted you to be, because one of the things I believe the faith-based space has needed and continues to need which is craftspeople and filmmakers who have real experience and have learned their craft and have
Yeah.
studied it and have learned how it's done in, like, sort of, I hate to say mainstream, but you know what I mean? Like, they you know how to do it. You've done studio
Mhm.
movies, you've taken that experience and you bring it to the world of values-driven filmmaking and faith-based filmmaking, and we need that level of
Yeah.
professionalism.
Yeah, you're never gonna make a dent in culture until you're on par with
Yes.
quality-wise with them, with what they're putting out there.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. So,
yeah.
just knowing that God led you here because that's exactly what we needed. We needed people who understood how it's done in the big game and how to bring that level of excellence, that level of professionalism to the sets, because ultimately the end result is a better movie or TV
Yeah.
show or, whatever the product is.
Yeah.
So let me ask you the first question when we talk about an AD. So most of the people on here are actors or actors slash something else, multi hyphenates. As an AD, what are the qualities that are most valuable for the actors that come on set? What stands out to you? What's important to you as an AD?
Well, and I will say that as an AD versus a director, it's not the same thing.
Yes,
Um,
right.
as an AD, our priority is efficiency, and so therefore responsiveness.
Mm,
Basically, coming to the set when you're called.
yep.
Coming out of your trailer when you're invited, going to makeup when you're invited, not stopping at craft service, not stopping to make a phone call.
Mm,
Those are,
yep.
believe me, there's plenty of time for all of those things. There's always downtime on a set, when we're lighting. But when we're
Right,
ready, that's when it's game on. That's when you bring your professionalism to the table. I mean, you should have it there all day long, frankly, but
right.
that's when it's your turn to shine. And it drives me crazy when, we have a 45-minute lighting set up and then we call for the actors and they're like, okay, I'll be a few minutes. It's like, okay, you know, look, we've got 75 people on crew that are now standing around waiting for you. So
Yep.
don't bring that ego into the set. Check it, leave it in your trailer. That's why you got nice trailers. Leave your ego in there
Mhm.
and just bring your professionalism. And
Right,
it's interesting too, because not only is that what we as an AD want, and frankly, what the crew wants, right? We want you to come
right.
in and just knock it out. But it's also what your peers want. That's what the other actors want.
Mm,
And you know who showed me this in spades was Christopher Walken. I did a movie
mm.
with him where there was a bunch of other young upstart actors in the same movie. And when we called for the actors, because they're all in the scene together,
Right.
Christopher was immediately, he would go straight to the set and he would walk right in and he would stand on his mark
Wow.
while the other people hadn't even stepped out of their trailers yet. And then they would stop and flirt with the wardrobe person. And then they'd go and grab something at the crafty. And then they would go to their chair as if that's what we wanted them to do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then
Right.
eventually, some of the smarter ones started realizing Christopher's already standing under the hot lights and not saying a word. And so slowly but surely, they kind of caught on. And
Yes.
by day 2 or day 3, they would all come in and go straight to work.
Yeah,
And
he
it was
set the
really
expect
impressive to watch.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for when he's the one who's there, standing there ready,
Yeah.
it makes you think
And it was
twice.
100% intentional. I loved watching the master at work. He was
Yeah.
training them without saying a
Yes.
word.
Yes, that's yeah, and the astute actor, no matter how long they'd been in the business, would realize that and catch that and
Yeah.
start to put that 2 and 2 together. Yeah, that's amazing. That's cool.
Yeah.
Because you would think that he would have every reason to be the one that's, like,
Yeah.
making everyone wait.
Well,
So,
he'd earned the right to not come straight in, at that stage
yes,
in his career.
exactly,
But he
exactly.
he was a pro,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
proved it and
yeah,
earned the entire
exactly.
crew's respect without question.
Yeah.
And
It's
now,
and
by the
that's
way, as an actor, you want to look good on camera, right?
Mhm.
Because what I do is really never seen by the public. What you as actors do is front and center. So
Mhm.
you want every advantage, and that comes from a crew that's on your side. That comes
Yes.
from DPs and gaffers that want to light you well, and makeup
Yes.
people that want to do good makeup. If they
Yes.
respect you, they're going to go a little extra mile, right? They're going to make sure you got that little twinkle light in your eye or
Yes.
whatever. Like, they're going to really make sure you look good. But I've been on other shows where the crew does not respect the talent for whatever reason.
Right.
Yeah, and they might not go that little
Right.
extra to make them look perfect or whatever. And
Right.
just saying, there's a reality there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad that you're pointing that out because mutual respect is really important. That's another reason I think whatever you can do to get on set so that you can not only learn what all of the different pieces of the puzzle are doing, but you can understand and respect the work they do
Yes.
and understand how they fit into the system. And um, who doesn't return respect given with respect back, right? When you
Yeah.
feel appreciated by
Yeah.
someone, you naturally return that right back to them. And I think the crews absolutely can make a difference, not only in the technical part of their craft, but in the tone on set, right? If they're
Yes.
frustrated and snipey because they don't feel respected by you and they don't want to give you a quiet set in between takes, or they don't, want to be respectful of your space as you're trying to be in character, they they can choose not to respect you in
Yeah.
ways that make
Yeah.
it less comfortable.
And it's only millimeters difference in some cases, but
Exactly.
over the course of a career, that has an effect.
Right, right.
And hand in hand with respect for not only the crew but for your peers. And this is another big one. Are you ready, people listening? Know your lines. Okay.
Ding, 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 ding,
Study
ding.
your lines. Don't
Yes.
show up on the day and then say, okay, what scene are we doing? That's
Right.
very disrespectful.
Very. Yes. Yes, exactly. It's not a I'm gonna wing it. Oh, I
Yeah.
got this. I don't need
Yeah.
to put thought into it. Absolutely
It
not.
doesn't mean you can't
Absolutely
mess
not.
it up. I mean, we all get it. It's not easy. I, I,
Right.
I've done this much acting enough to say I don't know how you guys do it, but
Exactly.
um, but
Yeah.
at least do your homework.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's another thing when we talk about us as filmmakers and as people working in the film industry and people of faith, that is the absolute minimum we need to be doing in order to be true to what God's called us to be in this industry, right? We need to be the most professional. We need to be the most prepared, the most kind, the most encouraging, the most respectful.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, even I think you would agree with this. Oftentimes, even on our faith based projects or values driven projects, the uh, many pieces of people of the crew are not people of faith.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so their eyes are on us who are Christians, right? To
Yeah.
see if we're kind of walking the talk.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are witnesses wherever we go, but never more than we are on a Christian film set,
Yeah. Yeah.
on a faith-based film. Because oftentimes, yeah, the crew is made up of, local film community that
Right.
are more often than not believers. And
Right.
so, yeah, how we act, how we treat each other, how we respect each other is our witness.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, we know your work as an AD, as a director. So, obviously, a very different kind of viewpoint with regards to the actor side of it. And
Yeah.
I get asked a lot, how do we make our audition stand out? What should I be doing in my audition or my callback? And, I've explained there's no like do A and B and C happens. It's not formulaic that way, but there are certain things that we look for, and especially you as a director, because when the director sessions um are happening, I'm my whole purpose is to fulfill the director's vision. So if I'm hired and I'm working with Joth and he's my director, I'm not looking for the people that I want or that I think I'm looking to fulfill his creative vision. So when we're in the callback, everything serves that purpose. So as a director, how what are the kinds of things that you're looking for? Let's talk first in an initial audition. So I've gone through the hundreds and thousands of submissions, and I've culled it down to the videos that I'm sending you to look at. What is it that your kind of catches your eye or
Yeah.
you're looking for?
That one's a little tougher because when you're
Yes.
talking about the first call,
Yes.
a lot of it's look, right?
Yes.
It depends on the character, depends on the requirements of the character and the
Yep.
story.
Yep.
And so I guess in that instance, if you're somebody that may or may not quite fit the look, maybe show a little diversity, maybe show some flexibility in your look, something
Yeah.
that says, because one thing is obviously, this, you see this all the time, Bev, right? People don't look like their headshots,
Right.
right? So maybe show a different look, but intentionally.
Right. Right.
I mean, I know you guys don't always have a lot of information,
Mhm.
but see, here's the thing with a particular lead character, we want collaboration. I want somebody who's going to own that role. I don't want
Yes.
a robot who's just going to do what I
Yes.
say, because guess what? I'm not an actor. Directors aren't actors.
Yes.
So sometimes, I mean, some directors are better than others, but sometimes director may not even be able to really communicate how to
Mhm.
get what they want. They just know
Mhm.
the end result.
Right.
And so bringing a little something to the table, and I'm kind of jumping ahead here because this is probably more
No,
for
this
the
is
second
great. Yeah.
round,
Exactly.
once we kind of, because I wouldn't respectfully waste people's time if I'm like, well, this is a role for a male and you're a female or whatever,
Right,
something where
right,
it's like,
exactly.
you're not going
And
to work.
hopefully I've done my job to where I'm sending you
I was
people
trying
who
to give
but
you a cut and dry
every
example, but you,
yeah, every once in a while, I'll throw in a curveball there though, and you'll
I
look at me
like
like,
that.
"What the heck?"
I like that. And I have had that experience where the
Yeah,
casting director will be like, I know you want this, but what do you think of this? I'm like, oh, you know what?
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's a casting director relationship right there. But in terms of talent, I want somebody who's a much better actor than me. But here's the trick. I don't want to see acting.
Mm,
I want to
mhm.
see being. I
Yep,
want to see that you are that person. Now,
yes,
I recognize that the audition process is not the ideal scenario or the ideal
right,
setting for that. So
right.
there's going to be plenty of grace there, but some kind of an understanding of who this character is,
Yeah,
and how you as an actor are connecting. I mean,
yes,
it's the same when if there's a script that I want to direct and I'm talking to a producer, I'm going to be sharing with them how I connect to the material,
mhm,
how it speaks to me, so that
right,
I can convey that I'm the best person to make this happen.
right,
So I
right,
would do the same with the character, with whatever sides you have and whatever you can glean from that, and
right,
how is it that actor A or actress B is
mhm,
really the ideal person for that character, and why. And
yeah,
don't be afraid to you could be a little inventive,
mm,
give the director what they want, but
yeah.
then have something to bring to the table where you can take it that to the next level.
Well,
And
that question actually came up. Someone was asking, how much do you allow improv? Let me try to see if I can find out who said that, but I saw it in
in an
there is
audition,
how much yeah, in the audition process.
well, here's the thing, you can really cross the line easily if you go too far down that road.
Yep. Mhm.
Um, if it if somebody kind of like goes way off script, I don't necessarily see that as much creative as I do a loose cannon. So
Good
you have to
point. That's a really
really,
good point.
you have to really walk that line. You have to show that I'm willing to do whatever you're asking for, Mr. or Mrs.
Yeah,
Director. But if you're interested in hearing it, and this is all in your body language, I'm not saying you spell this out.
right.
If you're interested in hearing it, I have another take on this,
Yes.
and but actually have some thought behind it. And so that again, it's you're owning this. It's, oh,
Yes.
you know what? Um, I know that this character, I'm gonna make silly examples so that
No, it's great.
for illustration purposes. I know you said this character likes red shirts, but I think they like blue shirts, and here's why. And then truly own that choice.
Mhm.
And then if I feel like, well, that was compelling because
Right.
you believed it. I didn't
Right.
think blue was the right thing for that character, but I can tell
Right.
you did, and you're the character, not me.
Right.
So I'm convinced.
Right.
And I have had that experience where I've had actors come with a little different take on a
Mhm.
character, and changed my mind, you
Yes.
know?
Yes. That's a really, really key thing though that you said, which is the difference between someone who is creative and collaborative versus someone who is a loose cannon
Yeah,
and is always gonna be trying to go for the one up or, the
yeah,
gag or the look at me kind of moment instead of serving
yeah.
the storytelling,
Right,
serving.
and that's the key. Serving the story is the primary goal for everyone. It should be.
Right, right, absolutely. I love that. So in a callback process, when you're actually working with the actors, whether it be in person or now sometimes it's via Zoom, but still you're working with them, what are the kinds of things that you're wanting to learn from that callback experience as a director?
Well, the thought process,
Mhm.
how they approach character, how they approach production in general.
Yeah,
Because again, if I'm looking for a collaborator, I also want to know, is this somebody I can work with,
right,
right, on a
right.
personal level. So I try and develop a rapport, and I
Mhm.
try and find a connection. Whatever. Oh, I see you're really into this. Me too. Even if it's got
Yeah,
nothing to do with the movie,
right.
right? I want to know, you and I can communicate.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be afraid to do that as an actor. Is try and find that connection with the director
Mhm.
as
Mhm.
well on a personal level. Um,
Yeah, how do you feel, because I see it a lot, actors who, in my opinion, have done their homework, look up the credits of the film director and can come in and said, "Hey, my buddy from college worked on your film such and such," or
yeah,
"I saw that you have a labradoodle and I have one too." You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
anything like that. Um,
It's also a good way of sticking out because it's a bit more memorable. There's something to hold on to there.
yeah,
You know,
but in
uh,
a more honest way.
yeah, right. It's organic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I one of the things I have said is, that part of that callback process is, can I or do I wanna work with this person for a month of very long days, of very ha all of our shoots, because our budgets are not huge, right, are typically
Yeah.
very hard.
A lot of
So
pressure. Yeah. A lot of
yeah,
pressure.
yeah, a lot to accomplish every day, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So are
so
they pleasant to be around?
yes, exactly, exactly. Are they
Um,
someone you're gonna wanna go be in the middle of the desert with, or in the middle of India with, whatever the case
yeah.
might
Yeah.
be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, well, I think that is so valuable, and I'm seeing a lot of comments and questions. People, first of all, love you and are, like, agreeing with you everything that you're saying. Um, and I know there have been some questions. Diego is, oh, here we go. Charles Babler. Directing, how much do you allow the actor to interpret the character, or do you keep them strictly on book? If you directed a 2-minute actor's reel, what would you like to see? Interesting questions.
Yeah. It depends on what the role is within the story. I mean, sometimes certain character actors are there to serve a specific purpose in the story,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you really need them to. Other times there's more flexibility with it, so there's really not a specific answer. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
as we said earlier, just as long as it serves the story. I'm okay with flexibility.
Mhm.
Um, but here's the thing again, you should always, as an actor, always give the director what they want, and then try your experimentation once the director's gotten what they've asked for. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
um,
That's a very good point
yeah.
because it's like they have the safety and they've accomplished.
Yeah, because the other thing is that's going to happen as a result of that is your director is going to be at ease for that next take
Mm.
now,
Yeah.
as opposed to I haven't quite got what I need yet. So they're going to not like any of these variations because they haven't got what they need yet. As soon
That's
as
a
they get what
really
they
good
need,
point.
then their walls will come down, and then they might love it,
Yeah.
because they're just at ease. So
Yeah.
you have to disarm the director. I mean, I'm giving you insider tricks, right? Don't tell other directors, but you have to disarm the director, so to speak.
No, see, that's amazing, and that's why we love that you're here because this is the information is that they don't always get to hear, and that's a really good I've never thought of that. As you're mentioning, I've never thought about the fact that until they have a take or a couple of takes where they feel like, "Okay, I can work with that," they're gonna be on edge, right? Because the clock is ticking and you gotta get it. So once you give them what they want,
Yeah. And
then
here's what's interesting about my insight. Most of it is not from directing, it's from being the right-hand man of the director.
mm,
I'm
yeah.
watching from a bit of a disconnect. I'm watching the dance between the
Yes,
director and the talent, and I can
yes,
see the results of what's happening even when they themselves can't see it,
yes,
because
yes,
I
yes.
don't necessarily have skin in the game in that particular relationship, for example.
Right, right.
And so it's been a little bit easier for me to learn what is good directing and what isn't, because I'm a third party observer. Um,
Yeah,
on literally, yeah, I've worked with over 100 directors. And I've worked with really, really good ones and
yes.
really, really bad ones, and I learn the most from the bad ones because I
Interesting,
can
okay.
see the crash and burn results,
You
and
can
they're
see it
very
coming.
yeah, well, what's funny? I mean, I use this example I use it in my course, but I use it in sometimes when I'm speaking as well, which is really people who are really good at what they do make it look easy. Doesn't mean it is. And the example I use is Cirque du Soleil. I mean, I remember
Mm,
seeing them when they're like climbing up a rope and like, hold their body out horizontally as if they don't weigh anything. They make it, I'm like, oh, is there a trick? No, the trick
yeah.
is that they spent years to train, their muscles to do that.
Yes,
And they
yes.
make it look easy, but I guarantee if I get out, I want to be able to lift myself at all. And
It's
so really good directors sometimes, oh my gosh, directing's easy. They say something
Yep,
to get what they need, and then they're working with good actors. You don't learn anything. You work with
right.
bad directors or bad actors or whatever, and it's like, oh, I can see where we need improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that makes so much sense, and it's very, very, very true. Um, Someone asked, "Is there anything in a self-tape that you immediately say no?" Is there anything that's like a turn off for you in a self-tape?
I know what they're looking for with the question, but the answer is no. If
Okay.
you have to
Yep.
read your lines, no, that's not a turn off. I mean,
Right.
you'd be better if you didn't, but I give everybody a shake, so to speak.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes,
I'll
yes.
see it through and then I'll weigh it, it just
Yeah.
depends.
Well,
But
and hopefully I've done my job as the intermediary, right? Hopefully I'm sending you tapes that you're not immediately gonna be saying no, to, and
and I know if
so
it's gotten to this stage that there's something of merit there.
right.
So I'll at least, go all the way through with it.
You may
And by the way,
text
people ask me all the time, "Oh, can I send you my headshot?" I'm like, "No, just send them to Bev, because when I'm ready, I'm just gonna hire her anyway. I don't want your
Love
headshots
it.
or your demo
Exactly.
reels."
Yeah, the days of, when we first started now, because I'm 30 years in, you're 32 years in, but I remember, the first films, especially the first SAG films, were you they brought in those, those white plastic postal tubs, that they carry all the bulk mail in and things. They
Oh, yeah.
would bring us tubs of all of the submissions that had come, hard copies, and opening every envelope. And then we had a wall of all these organizational cubbies for, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that those days are gone, because then it
Yeah,
was over, like the project would be over, and there's no way I could keep all those
yeah,
headshots.
yeah.
But when I first started, I did, because I felt guilty, because like every
They're
headshot was a
expensive.
person, right?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And they were expensive. And so the first time I had to throw them in the dumpster, I just was like, I felt like I should do it at midnight, like no one sees me and know that their
Yeah,
headshot ended up in the dumpster.
I
But
totally
anyway,
agree.
okay, Robin. I will be crewing this week on a Christian comedy pilot as Scripty, really just responsible for helping actors with dialogue. Any tips? So,
Yeah, I do a lot of line reading off camera for actors,
yeah,
and um, it's a tricky dance there because you want to give them a moment. You don't jump in too quick, Robin. Right? If you feel like they're looking for their line, because they can still use that. They can use that
mm,
pause in character, and it might even make the sequence better.
mm,
So, I see sometimes people will tend to like jump in with a line because they recognize that they're not doing it right.
yeah,
Well, again, you never know what the director might want to keep. And even if maybe the line's not perfect, like don't jump in and make corrections, just let it play out. If
yeah,
the actor's really struggling, they'll and in fact, you can communicate this ahead of time. Just have them say line. All they have to do is just say line, and then you can feed them. And you don't have to give them too much. Give them 3 or 4 words because it's just going to trigger a memory anyway. And you don't
yeah,
want to do too much because they're trying to stay in the zone. They're trying to stay in character. So give them a couple of feeder words that are just going to trigger their memory, and then immediately cut yourself off as soon as you know that they got it.
yeah,
And be
yeah,
careful not to step on them. Let them stay in that torturous place if they have to, because
yes.
again, they can use that.
I'll tell you a story about that. This was one of my first SAG. In fact, it was only the second SAG film I had ever done. So I was very green. And on that film, I was working alongside another set of very well experienced, like iconic casting directors that I ended up learning lifelong lessons from. But we were doing, it was for something to sing about. And there was a scene where the character was supposed to start singing Amazing Grace, like the second verse of Amazing Grace, I think was the song. And the actor, um, it happened to be the actor Anthony Anderson, who's obviously a huge star now, but he was auditioning and he paused to between the verses, and I jumped in and gave him the lines, and he, oh my
Bite your head off.
goodness, I learned fast. He just stopped and looked at me like, I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I learned very quickly. Yeah, there's a process that the actors are doing and learning, and sometimes it's not right there, but it's coming to them, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
So that
and
is
by the
so
way,
so
do you know that's actually where Jeff Goldblum came up with that whole him hesitating and pausing and all that his stuff he owns? That was originally him searching for his lines. And then he just
Oh,
kind of lived there. He just kind of kept it.
and
But
it became his sort of thing.
yeah,
His
yeah.
Yeah.
Life
Wow.
finds a way. That was him searching for his line.
Yes. But
At
he did
least
it so well.
at some point in his early process. I mean, eventually he just became him, but yeah,
Yeah,
early
yeah.
on, that was him trying to remember his lines.
I see Diane Richardson chimed in and said, "Yes, double exclamation point. I ran into a script supervisor saying my line too fast when I knew it." Because the other thing about that, and I realize now what I had done to Anthony Anderson in that moment is made him look bad. And you
Oh,
never
yeah.
wanna do that. It made it look like he needed my help
Yeah.
because he was struggling, and that
Yep.
you
Yep.
don't wanna do that, at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Let them
So, yeah.
save themselves first. Wait until they're about to drown and then give them CPR if you have to.
Yeah, absolutely. Diego, put that question back. Oh, Brooklyn. Hi, Brooklyn. Brooklyn just released some new music, you guys. Go to her website, check it
Yeah.
out. You have a new song. So you had your first song, Change of Season, right? Seasons Change. No, Change of Season. Seasons Change. You'll tell me what it is. It's beautiful, by the way. I feel horrible that in this moment I'm screwing up the title, but and then you have a new one coming out. So you guys check out Brooklyn Whitmer's social media pages and her music. It's beautiful. But
Yeah,
her
definitely.
question for you is, what's your favorite set you've worked on?
Starship Troopers. Just because at the time it was the biggest budgeted movie ever. It was about
Wow.
$100 million almost 30 years ago.
Yeah, that's huge.
And so it was just so much fun to see every possible toy in the filmmaking world, being hauled
Yep.
out. And it
Yeah.
was also an interesting time in the business because we were going from what was puppetry, because
Mm,
all the big creatures in that movie, puppeteers is what we always used in the business. And we
right.
were slowly morphing into blue screen, what became green screen. And
Yes.
so we still had a lot of puppets and puppeteers on that movie. And we had all the guys that did the puppets on Jurassic Park came and did our movie. So they did the puppet dinosaurs. And then we also had Dennis Muren, who did all the CGI dinosaurs, come in. So it was really a blending of old world and new in the same film. But it was a pretty. I just remember being on set with so much happening and so many top-notch pros in the business, just thinking I have found my calling. I have
Yeah.
died and gone to
Wow.
heaven. So
That brings up well, so you worked with Casper Van Dien on that
I've worked with
movie.
him multiple times, but that was
Yeah,
the
so
first
have
time I worked
I.
with him.
He's
Yeah,
a very, very good guy. He's
he's
a
great.
really
Yeah,
wonderful
yeah,
man, hardworking actor and very
yeah. In fact, there's another
professional.
project we have in the works together that
Oh, I'm so
he's
glad.
yeah.
Yeah, I have great respect for him. He's a good man. Um,
I got
I
a phone
oh,
call. You
okay.
guys swipe too. Don't
Oh,
don't
I'm
tell wardrobe that I swiped it.
actors don't do what Joth did,
Yeah,
which
no,
is
don't.
steal the wardrobe.
I got permission. There was about 1 million of them back then.
I love it. That is so great. Well, actually, this brings up something interesting, which is the whole actors and green screen or blue screen. In your observation now that that's becoming more of a thing, what advice do you have any advice you would give actors as far as working in that like blue screen, green
Yeah.
screen environment, CGI environment? Anything you can words of
Yeah, my
wisdom?
advice is good luck. I seriously don't know how you do it. I mean, it's hard enough to pretend when there's real things in front of you and around you.
Right.
I can't imagine. I mean,
Yeah.
looking at like Avatar, where like nothing is real.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't
Interesting.
directed anything related to that, so I
Yeah.
haven't
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
haven't crashed and
Well,
burned yet
I
to learn
well, and I
from.
just read, which actor was it who said a very, very famous actor just this week said he doesn't have interest in that because he doesn't wanna work opposite like a tennis ball. Often
Yeah,
that's what they do is they have like a tennis ball for the
yeah, I
head of
read that
whatever
too.
they're
I can't
yeah.
remember who it was either, but I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah, it was something they said this week. So,
yeah,
um, okay, Diego is telling me we have to wrap it up. You guys, if you'll join us another time, we'll find another date and continue
sure,
this because clearly
sure, yeah.
people have so much. But I did want to talk about your directing your movie. Tell me about that course and what it's something that all of you guys, it's available, and it's something I've told him that I actually plan to take and want to take, because I need to learn that. I've wanted to dabble in that side of it, but I think it's great, even just understanding and knowing the director's mindset and the technical side of that.
Yeah.
Again, all of it is knowledge that enriches you as an actor and as someone in the industry. Someone just said, put that back up there, Diego. It was Andrea
Andrea.
Kellum.
Andrea.
Yes, she took it, and it's fantastic.
I've actually had a lot of actors take it. I almost feel like more actors have taken it than filmmakers.
Yes,
But
Laura
yeah.
May.
I mean, it is certainly helpful to understand what your director wants, because ideally you're there to provide what the director wants.
Right,
But
right.
it's essentially, here's the thing. It's funny. It's a really constructive how to make a movie in a practical sense. And I say that because I remember taking a master class Werner Herzog gave.
Mm.
And his advice on how to be a great director was to read Icelandic poetry. Literally, that was his advice. And like the whole thing was all about finding the right headspace and get to know yourself. And I thought, well, what do you do when you're in the middle of a take and somebody blows it? You know what I mean? It's like nobody ever tells directors what to do. As a first assistant director, I am constantly telling directors how to direct.
Yes.
Because they learned from Werner and they read Icelandic poetry, which is really great when it comes to communicating with your actor and so on.
Yes.
But there's so much more to it. So
Right.
anyway, yeah. So it's a step-by-step how to, from concept to premiere, how to make a movie. What do you do when you first arrive on set? And what's the
Yes.
second thing you do when you first arrive on set? These are things
Yes.
that people don't tell you.
No,
So,
exactly, exactly. I'm so excited, you guys. I really want to encourage you. Diego put the link up there. You can go there and get more information. And you've obviously heard from Joth, so you realize that he's a master at what he does, and so the information he's going to give you is just gold. So,
I'm going to throw one other little thing out there just so you all
please.
have it. I'm going to give you guys a coupon so that you can actually get my course for only $99.
Woohoo!
So if you go into the coupon code and put just 99, you can get it for $99. So
Just 99, you guys.
yeah.
Wow. See, that was the price of admission. That was worth the price of admission to tonight, which was totally free. But even if it had been a lot of money, it would be worth it for that. Just 99. That's thank you for doing that, Joth.
Thank
That's
you.
really wonderful. And I think we as an industry and as a, values-driven, faith-based community, we want to keep upping our game, and we need to keep upping our game. We need to be professional. We need to be the
Yes.
best. We need to be
Yes.
setting the bar really high, not saying, oh, it was good enough because we didn't have a lot of money. No, let's make our $1 million movie look like 6 million and 10 million, and we can, right? We really can.
Absolutely. It's doable. It's doable.
Yeah.
But you got to learn. You got to put in the work.
Exactly. Well, Joth, I just love you. I appreciate you. I have mad respect for you, but just as a person, you're just such a quality person. So I look forward. I would really love to have you back, and we can get more time for their questions, because there were so many questions we didn't have a chance to get to. So we'll pull them together and get to them.
And I'm on social, Facebook. I tend to have a bit more presence on, so feel free to find me on Facebook, and I'll answer questions. I'm a bit OCD like that. I will probably go through the comment section and respond to everything because
good. That's awesome. Well, that's another reason we love you. So, well, thank you so much. And our Let's Talk Tuesday family, or as we sometimes get called, Holloway Nation. Now it's Holloway Riggs Nation for tonight.
Awesome.
um,
Thank you so
just
much.
really appreciate you. Thanks for being on. And guys, love you. And we will see you next Tuesday from Christian Worldview in Albany, Georgia. And we are still working on a meeting of anyone who's at Christian Worldview on Tuesday night, a meeting where we can just at least get together and say hi and give you a hug and go do our Tuesday night live from Christian Worldview next week. And then we'll be able to give you, after Christian Worldview, we'll be able to give you all of the details on how to sign up for coaching or any of those things that we've been talking about. So love you guys so, so much. We went a little longer tonight, but it was so worth it. And make sure you check out his course and the coupon code JUST99. You guys will not regret it at all. All right. Love you. Have a good night.
Okay, let's go.